Now, folks, we said 250K a year jobs. People reach out to me and ask me where the 250K jobs are at. I post these 250K jobs, and then not a single person comes back to me and goes, "Hey, Micah, thanks for posting that 250K job."
Very
you know
much.
what? It's okay. You don't have to thank me. I appreciate it myself that you can be a construction planner or scheduler and go make $250,000 every year. Mic drop. You can talk about this one all you want. You need me to scroll down?
Well, first of all, I'm going to start with the top. So, Microsoft Senior Integrated Planning Lead, 120 to 250,000 a year, based in Colorado. Now, that's a wide range. Now, I want to say a couple of things about this. It's a Senior Integrated Planning Lead. Now, in different companies, a lead can be the start of management, or it can be going up towards a senior individual contributor. This is not a director. This is not a vice president, and it's not a senior vice president.
Welcome to the Beyond Deadlines podcast, where we tackle challenges that planning and schedule leaders come across on a day-to-day basis. My name is Micah, and I'm a planning and scheduling manager for Intel.
My name's Greg Lawton. I'm the CEO of an AI schedule management company called Nodes and Links.
Each week, we bring you tactics that you can implement right away. On today's show, we are going to do a deep dive on our own newsletter. Each week, we send out an email newsletter that is packed full of information and specifically 3 jobs that we post every week that we find interesting. We have no relation to these companies. We have no information on them. But what we do have is an interest in finding you some of the best roles out there. So, Greg, you ready to dive in?
Let's go.
Perfect. And before you get started, I just want to give a shout out to The Critical Path Career. The book Greg and I wrote is out. It's released. You can pre-order it now. It comes out on September 10th. And you can buy it on Kindle and paperback. I got an early release for it, but just want to give a shout out before we get into this. That does look so good. I know. If you're just listening, you should go to that Amazon link that I'm going to post below and check it out because it's a nice little book. Going to help you out, help you land some jobs that we're about to talk about in a little bit. Okay, so let's dive into it. I will present my screen. All right. So there's been a link to this newsletter in every single piece of information we've ever put out. So it shouldn't be very hard to find. beyonddeadlines.beehive.com. The link will be below. Here's the landing page for our site. If you aren't subscribed, drop your email in there and subscribe. The first couple things you'll notice is just some of our favorite posts, which we have put up there over the years. So if you're just getting into construction planning and scheduling, we have a great article for that. We have an automation guidebook and some other ones. Greg, if you had to pick, what is your favorite post that you see on the screen?
My favorite, I have 2 favorites, and it's the money ones. It's the $250,000 a year for 40 hours a week, which is a kind of what you can get to, in scheduling, and then how to find a 250K per year scheduling job, because you and I know there's a lot of them going around, and I think that quite a lot of listeners have never been shown that these jobs exist, and you and I know that they go far beyond that. So I'd actually say it's probably those 2.
Yeah, you don't want to destroy your scheduling program.
No. I was looking at that and going, how to destroy a planning and scheduling program? Not mine. I don't want to do that to mine.
All right, fair enough. Okay, well, all right, so those are the top posts, and then what you'll find down here are the archives. These get sent to your email every single week, Monday. They'll drop crispy in your inbox. Let's jump into this one right here with some interesting jobs. So what you'll notice, I just want to walk you through the newsletter so we're all familiar with kind of the content and structure. And then we'll jump off into some of the jobs. As I mentioned before, we're making a huge push for our book, The Critical Path Career. So I'm obviously advertising that in the newsletter, and I walk through a couple of the key bits of information for it. So you can actually go land these jobs that we're talking about. I think one of my favorite pieces from this book is I actually take 26 of my favorite interview questions. I've interviewed hundreds of people through Google and at Intel, and I've been interviewed countless amounts of time. I mean, this is an interview show. So I take all of that information, I distill it down into 26 interview questions. I don't just give you the question. I give you the question, I give you the why behind the question, and I give you a sample answer to hit. And so, I mean, just for that, this will help you so much prepare for your interviews and nail them by just being confident in your answers. But moving on, I love to start out with a little bit of quote and inspiration to begin the week. I love quotes. And to me, this one really just goes into action. So, you know, a lot of people get wrapped up. I don't know, Greg, do you get wrapped up in thinking all high level all the time and, you know, overthinking things? And I don't know about this and I don't know about that. And when reality, it really just comes down to your micro actions.
In creating nodes and links and creating all of the other stuff that we've built, I actually find it just boils down to two things. One is, what is the next thing I'm going to do today? And then at some point is, when do I need to step back and just think about the big picture? It's almost you don't want to get sucked into thinking about big picture all the time, because to be honest, you're not gathering information by thinking about big picture. You only gather information when you do actions, and information is what leads to future decisions. And the opposite as well. You don't want to be doing action all the time. You need to step back and think about what's the direction.
Yeah, not glarping like our friends from Netflix advertised on our show.
I love that Netflix messaged us. We'd love to advertise on Beyond Deadlines. Okay, fine. I'll take $5.
Yeah, I think we made a total of 36 cents off of that. But folks, we got to pay the bills somehow, some way.
Yeah.
A lot of this information we create isn't free, and we are pumping some good hard-earned buckaroos into it. So if you purchase our book, that would greatly help us out and keep things funded. Tactics. So this is where I dive into specific planning, scheduling, career-based focuses. And to me, this is one of the biggest kind of career lessons that I see people missing across the board, junior to senior and above. If you don't choose your focus areas, what your goals are, what you want to go out and do in your life, what's important to you, you know, for example, maybe you're a data analytics person, you know, then you need to focus on data analytics and get, you know, your mission and your priorities aligned to that. If you want to be a project leader, you know, that's a different one for that. And so if you're not managing your own calendar and what you want to do in life, someone will manage it for you. And let me tell you, even though they're very nice people, they don't always have your best interests in mind. The next we get into prompts, and we're not going to do the prompt here, but you can, but I include a prompt every week, and these things are brilliant. This one is actually fairly relevant because it is resume optimization, folks. So I provide a prompt, which I've used on numerous resumes to go out and help you edit your resume and provide you just insightful feedback to help that post out. There's also on ChatGPT, if you go into the custom GPTs, there's a ton of these out here now. And then, you know, I dive into my book, a whole chapter on how to fine tune and polish that resume to make it great. And so there's a ton of information out there on that. And then lastly, second to last, we hit careers. Now, this is interesting. We had a I don't know if that's the right word. We had a multitude of great jobs posted. This is 2 weeks ago. Now I'm going to hit a little tagline out there. These jobs have now been took down because I want to tell you right now, that's how hot these jobs are right now. You know, when these things get posted, hundreds of people apply to these in minutes. So big tip, number one, set up automated alerts for scheduling, planning, and construction planning jobs. It's super easy to do on LinkedIn, and you need to get them targeted, right? Don't just do a general construction scheduler, planning scheduler. You want to go in and set up one for Microsoft, set up one for Google, set up one for Meta, Bechtel, Blue Origin, wherever you want to work. When that job drops, you want to get an email about it saying, hey, gates open, go apply. And so here are 3 interesting ones that we picked this week. Greg, what do you think about some of these companies listed here? Pretty interesting stuff, right?
It is. The one that I want to click on first is Blue Origin, and that's purely because in a past life I did astrophysics, so obviously they're trying to go into space. I want to know what the senior program planning and controls job at Blue Origin is about.
Well, let's take you there, my friend. Blast off into space. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Well, while you're doing that, I can read this. There we go. So this is in
there we go.
Seattle.
Yep.
It's 135 to $189,000 a year. It's called mid level, mid to senior. That kind of tells you something.
Yep.
Micah, do you want to see how you compare to 59 applicants?
No. I don't. I've had enough embarrassment already today, so I'm gonna pass on that.
Let's scroll down. The one that I've at Nodes and Links. I think we've screened something like 15,000 CVs in the last 2 or 3 years, and taken something like 500 people to interview. The thing that I will immediately zoom to is the responsibilities and the requirements. So
okay, so you want me to get right onto the qualifications?
Just get right into that. Just for people listening, the way that these job profiles are generally set up, you've got the blurb, so it's what's the company doing, and generally what's the role about, so the objective or the outcome. Then you have the responsibilities or requirements, the qualifications, desired experience, preferred experience, etc. And it's really about the qualifications and requirements that tell you what the job's really about. So if I look into this, so you need a highly analytical degree. Okay, makes sense. Scheduling. 5 years of program finance and business analytics or program scheduling. That's interesting. So you can be a cost person or a general business analytics person, and they believe you can move over into scheduling. Okay, that's an interesting one.
That probably got some interesting applicants.
Yeah, and then they've got broad / deep scheduling and or cost control set. Okay, is this a cost job or is this a scheduling job?
This, I bet, you know what I bet happened? They took the cost job, which they always hire cost first for some reason. They always hire the cost roles first, and then they took the cost job posting and they modified it for scheduling. That's what they did.
Yeah, because I'm reading this and it says proficiency with resource loaded schedules using P6 OpenPlan, MSP, or other. Okay, and also resource loaded is high end. So that's high end scheduling. And then they say control account management, including budget baselining, forecasting, variance. Just for the people listening to this, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head who is senior enough, as in senior people who will do these activities. Like, if you know how to do full resource loaded schedules and you know how to do budget baselining, reforecasting, variance, you're managing a team who's doing. So I'm looking at this micro and going, yeah, I think this has been thrown together by someone in HR that hasn't really sat down with the scheduling team and gone, what do you need here?
It could be. I mean, this to me also reads though as a very traditional American government position. I see Deltec Cobra down there. I see DCMA. You know, to me, if this is Blue Origin and they're building spaceships for the U.S. government, they're going to be under, I forget the federal contract number, but they're under that federal contract number.
Yeah.
And is it a highly, we want to ensure that you're tracking every single dollar correctly and that your schedule and your dollars align. So, but you know what? I would go back to that first bullet point because I know there's quite a few construction planner and schedules out there who don't have degrees. I would never let that stop you from applying because a lot of times they're going to look at your experience first, and maybe you might get dinged and not make it through the system. But honestly, I have a feeling if you had great experience, you didn't have a degree, and you got a referral, you may be able to slide through there, and I wouldn't let it hold you back from applying. Especially like they ask for a P, maybe you have a PMP or something, like, some secondary education in there. To me, this is definitely, though, this reads like a little bit of a unicorn posting, because they want someone who also has an MBA, with 5+ years experience and an MBA. It's unicorn.
And you're a senior cost analyst, and you're a business analyst, and you're a senior scheduler.
Yeah.
So here, it could be a unicorn. I've just had a sneaking suspicion that this is for what's known as a low TRL level project. And TRL stands for Technology Readiness Level. It's something that NASA put out there. And essentially, a low TRL level project is when you're trying to prove technologies. So the main risk in the execution of the project is the technology in itself. The main challenge of the project is not the operational execution. So it could be that these schedules are actually pretty simple. You're talking less than 500 lines, and it's more about managing engineering teams to first of concept. It could be that it's that, because in that situation, you could have someone who is able to do the P6 and able to do the cost, and then able to do the earned value management, etc. Because it's not you're definitely not going to be able to get this kind of person on a 50,000 line program.
Yeah. The other one that I usually see in this is they're trying to meet a government requirement, which means you're not. There's a difference between can you cost, resource load, and run EVMS on a program for the program's benefit versus can you do that to meet a requirement? I think that's two totally different ball games. Okay. Shall we move on? I think all of this is pretty standard jobby information. I do like your strategy of diving down to the qualifications first. Usually what I'm looking for first is those magical words Primavera P6, because that'll let you kind of know where the role is positioned or whatever. And usually you do find those down in the qualifications. All right, let's go Bechtel. Let's see what's going on with our friends over there.
I know.
So
I've got quite a few friends at Bechtel, and they're in the planning department. They are very, very skilled people.
Yeah. So last job was 130 to high 180s. Now you have 105 to 160. In San Jose, California, 105 is could be good, but I wouldn't call it a mid-senior level if it were me, just off of that. All right, let's do your job. Ooh, this is lots of bullets on these responsibilities.
This is a proper set of responsibilities here. Right. So we've got direct soil program, and by the way, another tip, and if you generally read the first 5 or 6 words of each sentence, if it's written properly, it'll give you a good gist. So direct soil program level schedule development and maintenance, oversees the implementation of milestone schedules, reforms, collects, verifies, and integrate work scope, coordinate what-ifs, assist in determining schedule sequence for equipment procurement. Okay, so you've got milestones, you've got updating and reporting, you've got scenario testing, you've got working with other functions. I'm going to do procurement, engineering, all of that in there. To establish optimal contract interfaces and determine activity relationships. Okay. Scope change, schedule creation. Yeah, this is an experienced scheduler job, but it's not a schedule manager job.
Yeah, they're looking for someone who can do quite a lot of planning and scheduling tasks. Do they?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So let's look at qualifications.
It's interesting. They don't list out the Primavera P6 unless I'm
No, it does. It's in qualifications at the top.
Oh, did I miss
basic
it?
qualifications.
Oh, basic.
No, go down.
Down?
Yeah. Down.
Am I missing it?
Basic
Oh,
qualifications. From a verification.
Eagle Eye Reader Greg. Yeah.
So you need a degree,
Then-
apparently, again, in engineering, construction management, or business.
Yeah.
10 years of... Okay, I'm going to pull this out. 10 years of work experience for $160K in California. I personally wouldn't be looking at this one.
Bechtel is a great company, though. I mean, there is, depending where you're at, they have a lot of different opportunities. And so if you're, I don't think anyone's going to take a pay cut to get into this, but if you are in the 130s right now and you don't have that 10 years experience, or maybe it's mixed, maybe you did a little coordinator, a little engineer. This job's obviously right for somebody. I mean, someone applied, they got it. And then, one other shout out. These salary bands.
Look, it got 6 applicants.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
These salary bands, I think to me, as you start to look at jobs and especially scheduling jobs, I've had a couple jobs early in my career where they listed very low salary expectations, and I came in and did fairly well on the interviews and impressed them. But I was just very clear with my salary expectations up front, but I was very I really want this job and maybe you can make it work. And we were able to kind of bump into another tier. You don't want to waste anyone's time. You want to be honest and upfront. But I see a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people, they create these glass walls in front of them. Like, oh, that salary isn't quite what I need, or it's hybrid, but I want to be remote. And then they never actually apply and go talk to a recruiter. Right. Mm-hmm. And if you can make it through the door, speak with a recruiter, and then if there's some wiggle there in every company. So don't just sit on the sidelines, right? Apply to jobs.
Oh, there's also the power of the recruiters, because you might say, I'm super interested in the company. I love what they're doing. This job's probably not right for me, but I just want to get to know the company. I want to get to know you, the recruiter themselves. That recruiter will remember you, because these recruiters are, they have to find great candidates for jobs. And if they already know they've got every good recruiter will have a list of 5 or 10 people that they know are amazing that they will call when a job pops up. And who knows? That recruiter might go, well, this is a CP2 level job, whatever that means. Maybe they're like, well, there's a CP3 or a CP4 opening up in 6 weeks' time. Who knows?
Hashtag Star Wars reference. That's what I'm busting up. Important point you make there. If you get to talking about a recruiter at a company you like, figure out the levels. There is no bigger travesty than when you take a job and you come in at too low of a level, because you have to, most companies, it's a time period in which you get promotions. And so let's say you are a CP3, but you don't even ask about it. You take the CP2 role. Your buddy sitting next to you, she was smart and said, no, I'm coming in as CP3. Boom. She's one level ahead of you. Guess what happens when you go for promos next year? She's going to stay one level ahead of you. So make sure when you're going for the bigger companies, the Bechtels, and we'll jump over to the Microsoft job in a second, understand that leveling system. That is huge. And small construction companies won't have it. And so I didn't even know about it until I jumped Google, and I was like...
And the bands overlap, by the way. So if this is called CP2, and it's a band of about 100 to 160, CP3 will probably be something like 120 to 180. They overlap quite significantly. So yeah, you might say you agree a 150 salary, but you could say I want a CP3 role.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's nice. It's good to come in on the lower band so you have headroom to grow without getting a promotion. You can work some raises, chalk it up. Now, folks, we said 250K a year jobs. People reach out to me and ask me where the 250K jobs are at. I post these 250K jobs, and then not a single person comes back to me and goes, hey, Micah, thanks for posting that 250K job. You know what? It's okay. You don't have to thank me. I appreciate it myself that you can be a construction planner, scheduler, and go make $250,000 a year. All right, mic drop. You can talk about this one all you want. You need me to scroll down?
Well, first of all, I'm going to start at the top. So Microsoft Senior Integrated Planning Lead, 120 to 250,000 a year, based in Colorado. Now, that's a wide range. Now, I want to say a couple of things about this. It's a senior integrated planning lead. Now, in different companies, a lead can be the start of management, or it can be going up towards a senior individual contributor. This is not a director. This is not a vice president, and it's not a senior vice president. So if you're looking at that, it's lower.
Yeah. From my experience, this is not going to be management. And a lot of times, even with some of these roles where they say it might be, but I would doubt it. I would bet usually when they use the term lead at Microsoft and Google and even Meta, I've found you're at IC. You're an individual contributor. Maybe you're managing some contractors, but you wouldn't be management. But I could be totally wrong. The band range for me probably has to do with location, would be my guess. Candidate experience and some of those traditional other things. But I have a feeling because it has different locations associated with this role, I've previously read this job, based on where you put, they might change your side. But it could also just be where you come in at. So if I read this, I would say I want $248K per year.
Wiggle room at the top.
Yeah.
By the way, just for the listeners, one of the I want to explain for a second why generally the management jobs are more expensive. That they pay more. It's an obvious, like, people go, well, managers make the most money. Not always, by the way. Not always. At Google there's some individual contributor developers that are on, or AI developers that are on serious money, like millions of dollars. But the reason is because of the scale of the impact you can have. To be an individual contributor and increase your impact, there's only two things you can do. One is you just work more hours, or the second is you could make each hour count more. When you're a manager, you can organize work and hire people under you that help, and essentially the scale mechanism's easier, which is why not all jobs are paid the highest at individual contributor level, but in most companies, most management jobs are higher than individual contributors. So yeah, this is one of these transition roles. So let's scan down and have a look at the things here. So this is a beautiful job description. There you go.
There we go.
As an individual contributor, it's like, because they're saying you're not responsible for people. Cool.
Sorry for wasting 3 to 5 minutes of your time, folks. We'll try and get it back to you.
Oh, here we go. The ideal candidate will have experience in data center design, procurement, and construction. Okay, so this is a hyperscaler. It's Microsoft. They're building data centers. It's for the hyperscales, which is building
the big data centers.
The big data centers.
20, 40, 60 megawatts at a time.
Yeah. And this is detailed project plans, resource requirements, manage cross-functional teams, monitor project risk, work with clients to understand their needs, which would be the engineering team and I guess the ops team that are running the data centers, and maintain key relationships. And then you've got to manage multiple projects simultaneously, improve project management processes or tools to increase efficiency and effectiveness, and provide regular updates to senior management. Okay, that is bang on scheduling. Oh, wow. Check out those qualifications. Someone's been thinking about metrics.
Bachelor's degree and 4 years experience.
They put it in capitals, Micah.
2+ years experience.
I don't know how I feel about
that. The interesting piece is they clearly call out IC, but you're managing cross-functional teams. So that would indicate to me that you are stepping into a heavily matrixed organization in which you will need to gain allies and people on other teams in a loose sub team, right? And lead without authority, which is hallmark. I mean, it's very classical for a lot of different of these big tech companies. It's interesting comparing this to the Bechtel resume, or where To me, they wanted 10 plus years of experience and all this. And here it's a lot less experience that
Do you know
to
what? Do you know what I
to
find
potentially
interesting?
get called in and get in the door. But that's also the salary band comes into play there. What do you find interesting?
Well, I find interesting now if we just compare these two, because you know the us the employees are looking at these jobs and mentally just ranking companies. Here's Microsoft saying you get to work on data centers, which is one of the hyper growth areas in the industry. They're willing to pay up to $250,000 a year. They make your point saying you either have to have a degree and 4 years experience, or you don't have to have a degree. You just need to have experience in these areas. Compared against Bechtel's, which is, 100 to 160 in a state that's very expensive.
San Jose is way more expensive than Colorado.
Yeah.
Way more expensive.
And 10 years of experience, and they wanted all the qualifications. It's kind of like you're not going to get the cream of the crop going to that. Well, 6 applicants, and then I had a look at this. This had 34 applicants. That's essentially going to be the difference.
Yeah, and they're going to be. I mean, that's just the LinkedIn piece of it. There's a ton of people who know people at Microsoft who are getting that referral in who aren't going to show up as applied through LinkedIn. They're going to push the referral in and they're going to apply directly in the Microsoft site, not show up on the stat side of things. So very interesting here. We've been talking a lot about it. I mean, I think there is a ton of value jumping into the data center space. It looks like it's going to continue to grow and expand. You get to work for some of these top tech companies, which traditional people with construction backgrounds, unless you can wiggle into their real estate side of the house, which is just office space, which it's going to be pretty lackluster now. You typically could not get into these companies. And here we are. So very exciting stuff. I wonder if you're going to see a bit of like a shift or drain in, tech talent, like how they kind of sucked all the software engineers in. I wonder if they're starting to suck in all those construction people.
I think, well, I've already seen that with Neom. Now, obviously, Neom slowed down in Saudi, but in Europe, quite a lot of the senior managers on big government projects, so like High Speed 2 in the UK, before the government cancelled half of it, the budget was 105 billion, and quite a lot of the senior schedulers there moved to Saudi Arabia to work on the Neom project. And one of them's a good friend of mine, and on High Speed 2, he didn't tell me exactly what it was, but I think the salary was around 120,000 pounds, so probably about $120,000 to $150,000. And the UK is cheaper than places in America. Bear that in mind. And when he went to Saudi Arabia, it went up to I think $360,000 with a bonus of about 80,000, and it was all tax free. And it's now the cost of that is they had to live in a desert for 9 months of the year. And I don't mean like Dubai. I mean a literal desert where there's cabins. And if you go outside, for more than 5 minutes during the day, you're going to be in trouble. But we absolutely saw that drain. And I think that, well, we're probably going to see that drain from.
Yeah.
I don't know, it might not be oil and gas, because in that thing, it was oil and gas, chemicals, data centers, or one more that they wanted experience in if you don't have a degree. And I know that those projects are quite hot projects. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to pull from oil and gas.
They probably will over time. Just talking to some colleagues, you're starting to see a bit more superstructure that you see in oil and gas. To me, oil and gas is advanced work packaging on steroids. They're going to finish their design. It's like everything, control accounts, construction packages, the installation packages, all that, the whole, thing. That's a little bit tougher to do on the data center side because you can design an oil platform, and for a couple of years, it's like the tech isn't going to change, you know? Where on the data center side, all of these companies are constantly going through these massive design overhauls to keep up with the latest tech. The last one was the rise of AI, which introduced GPUs, which increased the heat. So you got rack level cooling that needed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you do rack level cooling, that's going to change the infrastructure of your data center. Now you're doing a design change. You can't a lot of times complete a design and then package it all out. And then also just the value of the projects as well. I mean, some of these data centers are bigger, but a lot of them are, in the $500 million range, which I think a lot of companies have just hasn't fully dove in and said, this is what we're going to do. And so I guess when you're looking at that transfer over from the oil and gas space, that's a different career, different style of planning.
I think so. From what you were saying then, I got the idea of defense, because in the defense, if you look at the large asset space, so we're talking jets, submarines, ships, land to some extent, they go through spiral development phases, like you were talking about. Because if you think about it, on a destroyer, you're going to be upgrading the screens every decade or something, because I don't know, I'm just imagining you're going to be upgrading a lot of the technology over time, because adversaries in the world upgrade their technology over time, which is why they have to have cycling refit periods in the Navy. So I'm guessing you could have a lot of schedulers that understand that. And historically, the military or the defense domain doesn't pay particularly well, but you get a very stable job and a good lifestyle. So, you work
trade-offs.
Slightly less hours, there's more stability, but the pay's lower.
That's one thing I talk about in our book, The Critical Path Career. I have a little section on money, which we don't have time for because we are running out of time today. Folks, if you like this episode and you want to see us do more of these detailed job reviews, we'll try and catch some where maybe the jobs are active, but it's hot. I mean, these jobs don't stick around for months and months. And so we will try. If you like this episode, let us know, reach out. We're happy to do another one. We got the link for our newsletter down in the comments. Sign up. It's not just jobs in America, and it's not just data center jobs. Every week, we just find 3 just interesting jobs. I find them from all over the world because I always wondered, could you get a scheduling job anywhere in the world? And after sending out a year of newsletters, the answer is yes. I can find you a scheduling job anywhere in the world. Now, the caveat to that being, right, it's not always going to be in your small little town somewhere. You may have to move slightly, but I can approximately get you there. And so for us at Beyond Deadlines, sign up for the newsletter, buy the book, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.